What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is Batwoman Season 2, Episode 16, Rebirth. So I'll admit I took a little bit of a break from recording, partially because I got busy, partially because I started recording some gameplay stuff, and partially because I was procrastinating. I did not want to get back to this show. But thankfully, this is the very last video that I will ever be doing about Batwoman, because yeah, I'm done after this season. I do not care to check out the third season at all. The only reason I checked out this season is I wasn't sure if it was going to connect at all with the other Arrowverse shows after the Crisis, and also I was just curious. I'm like, what are they going to do now that Kate's off the show? You know how curiosity killed the cat? Yeah, curiosity is killing my brain cells. So anyways, back into this show though. We'll start off with Alice, because she got quite a bit of focus in this episode. It's kind of funny, because we start off this episode and she and Jacob are interrogating Kate/Cersei, and at one point he finds out about Enigma, and so he turns to Alice. He's like, wait, I thought it was Cartwright that did this to you. And I swear she could have just turned straight to the camera and said, well, that was first season. And second season, they didn't realize Kate wasn't going to be here, so they were setting me up to be a bit of a sympathetic villain. Instead, now we have to try to turn me into a sympathetic anti-hero. And the only way I can be an anti-hero is if I'm not a true psychopath. So instead of me being born and bred basically a psychopath, at a young age, now I was turned into a psychopath at a later age because I was brainwashed. So now you can feel okay if you want to root for me. It would have made so much sense. It would have showed that the writing team understands that they're not good at what they're doing and that they're literally just sort of writing whatever whims come to mind. On top of that, it would break the illusion that this is trying to be an enjoyable, entertaining show, and that it's aware that it's just a crap thing that is meant to, try to, I guess, represent people that feel underrepresented and basically pander to those people. It would have fixed so many things, but instead, no, they have to try to make it this emotional scene where Jacob now feels bad for all the things he said and thought about Alice last season, and when he gets arrested later, he has this super emotional, like, oh yeah, she's a human deep down, it's not her fault that she went through all this. Whatever. If you really want me to sympathize with Alice, you've got to write her in a more sympathetic way. You've not done it. Even last season, when they were trying to make her, again, a sympathetic villain, where she can't be redeemed, but you feel bad for what she went through, I didn't feel bad for what she went through, because they didn't make it interesting or relatable or enjoyable in any way. So I was just sitting there going, okay, can she just die already? No, she's sticking around for season 2. Fantastic. So, but yeah, a lot of this episode was sort of focused on her, though. Sophia kidnaps her. Batwoman trades the Desert Rose for her life, and then Sophia reveals, oh no, Ocean's in trouble. Ooh. And this is where also this show gets really dumb a lot of the times. It did the same thing in season 1, where Batwoman wasn't able to defeat a girl who had a blood disease. She couldn't take her on one-on-one, just a normal girl. But then she could take on 3 Arkham security guards. Same thing here. Ocean and Alice have shown they are capable of taking on so many people. And then Alice gets teamed up by 3 of the masked guys, who she's been able to take out easily before, but now she can't do it. And then later on, apparently Tatiana somehow kills Ocean. And even though, again, Alice and Ocean are on the same level, Alice easily defeats Tatiana. So it's like, wait a minute, what? Now granted, there's a chance Ocean may not be dead, because if I've learned anything in this show, if you don't see the death happen, even if sometimes you do see the death happen, doesn't mean they're necessarily dead. There could be a rose, the Desert Rose thing on the knife that you stab them with that heals them whenever you stab them, or maybe it's not actually their body. I don't care enough to really formulate theories anymore. But the fact that they just sort of killed Ocean off screen, and again, it's just Tatiana did it. It wasn't like a group of Sophia's men. She just sends Tatiana, and even though Alice, I'm pretty sure, has defeated Tatiana a couple times before, Ocean somehow can't find it in himself to do it, and he gets killed. That's stupid. It's stupid, and it's, again, they're trying to make Alice feel sympathetic. So, let's kill off her boyfriend that she was finally starting to get close with. Okay. Again, yeah, you really like to hit on those few cliches that you've seen done 100 times. You're like, oh, but I can do it better, and then you do it the exact same, and in some ways even worse, to the point where anybody who's seen anything can either predict what's coming or just doesn't care enough because you have not given us a reason to care about these characters. So, the stuff with Jacob, though, like, kind of shows how stupid a lot of what the last few episodes were about, with him taking down the crows and all of that. It's like, oh yeah, if you can't fix a system, just tear it down. We don't need a system anymore. And now all of a sudden we find out Sionis apparently owns a lot of GCPD. It would be great, if we knew somebody who maybe had like a security team that could fight against GCPD and try to take down the corruption. Oh well. I guess, we'll have to look for somebody else. Because obviously Jacob, he needed to take down the crows. Because you couldn't just take out the few bad eggs in the team and get more trustworthy people. No. We just don't need a security team at all. Just take them down, get rid of the crows. Now the GCPD rules everything. And Sionis owns them, so. Good job, show. The stuff with Kate / Cersei is just kind of whatever. Like they very easily turn her mind back toward Kate with a few stories and stuff, and then Cersei instantly gets control back now that Beth's not around. It feels weird, too, because Beth is the one that starts her down the path of, oh, maybe I'm actually Kate Kane, and then Sophie shows up, and she instantly knows who Sophie is, even though she didn't recognize Mary. And yet, still, that's not enough to keep her from turning back to Cersei. Like, they're clearly trying to show, like, this internal struggle with these scenes with young Kate and Cersei, which I will say, God, the actress playing Cersei, she's not doing an awful job, but when she needs to look intimidating, it's really rough to watch. Like, she just doesn't look intimidating at all. Like, her intimidating face, she looks, those jokes that are like, oh, when a 5'3" girlfriend tries to act like she's mad or something, and it's like, Tuffy the mouse from Tom and Jerry, that's all like, that's kind of what it looks like. She puts on a face of like, I'm super scary. Ooh, my eyes are so wide and I've got this creepy smile on. I'm gonna flip my blades like 20 times without doing anything at all. I'm just gonna flip them. See, I'm so proficient with these blades. Ooh, I think I've used them once this season so far, but ooh, I'm so intimidating. And it just comes off, it's almost funny, but it's so cringy that it's not quite funny. It's riding that line between being kind of so bad it's hilarious and being so bad that it's just bad, and you're just like, what are you doing? Like, why are we doing this? It's not good. So yeah, I mean, it's just, her whole story though is just kind of dumb because, again, your sister brings you back for a little bit, and then you see this girl that you've loved for so long, and you would think, okay, well, that surely will be another branch to bring her back, but instead she just goes back towards Cersei again. And then at the end of it all, because our team is so smart, they don't tie her up or anything. So Cersei wins the battle in their mind, and she leaves. Good job, guys. Like, I don't know, after she went after Mary that one time, I would think anybody with a brain cell would think, let's tie her down. Let's make sure she can't escape. Let's make sure she can't attack anybody. But no. We're just going to leave her alone with Sophie. And when she asks Sophie to get her a drink, she's like, okay, yeah, sure, I'll go get that for you. I'm going to leave you completely alone, and I'm going to trust that you're not going to leave. Because I'm an idiot. And so, yeah, that is stupid. The stuff with Ryan in this one, I mean, just basically she's sort of like a in between for most of this. She's trying to stop Tatiana from killing a guy. She doesn't get there in time, and she loses the briefcase. And then Tatiana goes and kills a guy, and she gets there too late for that. And then she has to go find Luke, and Luke's doing his own thing. I'll get to that in a second. And then she goes and I don't remember what she did in between finding Luke the first time and then needing Luke the second time. I don't know. It just felt like she was sort of there. And I do have to appreciate that Sophia, at least, like, they wrote in knowing that people were going to be asking this question, because honestly, I was kind of asking this question. It's like, why are you doing any of this? Like, you hate her, you don't know Kate, and it's true. Like, she's not shown any sort of, I guess, self-awareness in a sense. You know, she's supposed to be this kind of pillar of justice, you know, Batwoman standing up for what's right, and yet she's done a lot of stuff that makes it very clear she's in it for herself. And so this whole episode kind of goes against all the stuff that we've seen from her before. And if it were like a character growth thing where we see, you know, slowly she's starting to realize that there's a responsibility for putting on the cowl and all of that stuff, that would be one thing. But it's been very much like, no, she's a terrible person. She's selfish. She doesn't want to help anybody but herself. She's willing to let somebody die because of what that person did to her before, like holds grudges. She's been a terrible person all season. And then in this episode, it's like, well, we need to find a way for them to get Alice back. So let's have Ryan be a good person this one time. And it's just, again, doesn't work. It doesn't work as character growth. It feels more like a cop-out of just like, hey, you know what? We need her to be good, so let's have her do it. Because we are a good writing team, and we write things to happen because we are a writing team. Then finally, Luke. I mean, his story is just, he starts off looking like he's ready to jump off the side of the tower. Sure enough, it feels like he's going to track down, what's his name? The crow that apparently got released because, you know, again, they're trying to show that, oh yeah, our justice system, you know, in this fictional world, which is supposed to represent our world, yeah, this justice system, it never arrests anybody but black people. No, all white people, they just get off scot-free. No white person is ever going to get convicted for anything. Even whenever there's a ton of eyewitnesses, they're not going to get arrested. You kidding me? If there's a ton of evidence, I mean, if it was a black person, I mean, for sure, he'd be arrested right now. He would 100% be arrested. But he's white, so he gets off scot-free. Because that's the world we live in, guys. Again, this writing team just so clearly gets this world. But yeah, so his whole thing is just trying to track down the guy, Tavalier, I don't know. But tracks him down, tries to piss him off to the point of, I guess, just having him kill him. Because, yeah, again, Luke wants to die. And then, unfortunately, Diggle, they had to bring him into this shit show. I feel bad for him. You know, I feel like he just needs to move on to better things. Because he's one of the few things I still liked about Arrow, even at the end. You know, he was good, decent character, good actor. I enjoyed seeing him. So the fact that they had to bring him over to this show, I'm just like, no, please don't cross over with anything else anymore. I don't even want to think about the possibility that maybe there will be some more crossover next season. I don't want to think about that. So please just, let's pretend that never happened. Let's pretend Diggle didn't show up, that they didn't bring the poor guy over, you know, David Ramsey. Let's just pretend he didn't have to be a part of this awful show. Let's just pretend that didn't happen. But yeah, I mean, it's just, I don't get me wrong, I like Diggle. And his scenes were pretty good in this episode. Like, I liked what he said, and it made a lot of sense. Like, yeah, you're gonna see your dad soon. Like, it's what happens in our line of work. And I'm sure he's referencing a bit, you know, of what happened with Oliver. But what are you gonna do on this earth? That's kind of the point of it. Like, when you do finally go see your dad in the afterlife, like, what are you going to be able to tell him that you did? And going and getting yourself killed at the hands of this guy, that's not going to do anything for you. Like, how are you going to be able to face him and be like, yeah, I got myself killed, Dad. Hi. Like, that, I liked that speech, and it felt like, again, he is the the gem in a pile of shit all around him. Like, he's saying some good stuff, acting his ass off. It's just unfortunate that, again, it's part of this awful show. So, but yeah, I think that's about it for this first episode. Can't think of anything else. If I do, I'll try to remember it for the next part of the review. But anyways, on to the next episode. I'll see you there. And now, episode 17, Kane Kate. So this one, I mean, it just kind of takes the one thing that could have been maybe something a little bit new and different and interesting, and basically says, nah, We're gonna make it bland and dull and generic. Because yeah, I mean the idea that Kate and Cersei were like fighting in her head and all of that. Maybe she's trying to like decide where her loyalties lie and all of that stuff. Basically, just goes out the window, and she's totally 100% Cersei at this point, playing both sides. Pretending to be Kate, but secretly she's working for Sionis the whole time, and it's just okay. Bland and straightforward. We don't have to sit here and question, oh, is she really working? Is she really herself? Which, I mean, to be fair, at the end of last episode, we saw Sophia show up and basically, in a way, say something along the lines of like, oh, yes, but I want you to do something for me. And yeah, you could kind of put two and two together if you have more than a couple brain cells. But the audience of this show doesn't have more than a couple brain cells. The people they're writing for are the type of people that would be sitting there going, oh, I wonder, is she really Kate? Is she really trying to be Kate, or is she Cersei this whole time? Even they, at the beginning of this episode, get their answer. Right away, you see, oh no, she's definitely Cersei, and she's definitely working for Sionis. She's just pretending to be Kate right now. And I feel like that just takes away not much intrigue again, because it's very easy to figure out what's going on. But I still feel like if you're trying to write it for the brain dead audience that you've been writing for these past couple seasons, I feel like leaving that bit of mystery would have made it a little bit more interesting for them to watch. But even for those people that are just brain dead and just turn their brains off completely and watch shows and go, oh, they said the thing, they did the thing, oh my gosh, they're doing so good right now. Even those people are sitting here probably going, okay, you told me the answer. You didn't even like leave any mystery involved. You didn't leave any possibility of like, oh, maybe she is really Kate. Maybe she is. Like that scene with her and Sophie at the bar. That could have been a really interesting, like, okay, well, it seems like maybe she is feeling something. Maybe that side of Kate is trying to overcome. It would have left a little bit of question about what's going on. But ultimately, you showed us at the beginning of this episode, nope, she's Cersei. There's no Kate left right now. She is completely 100% Cersei, and she's focused on doing whatever for Sophia and for her dad. That's it. So, just really frustrating in that sense. Also really frustrating, and I feel like I've seen this in some of the other Arrowverse shows, and it's always very frustrating whenever something like this happens. But that scene at the end where basically Cersei takes down Ryan, Sophie pulls out the crossbow and is threatening Cersei with it, they just let her go. I'm not saying kill her, because I get why Sophie's not going to kill Cersei. I get that. I'm not stupid. However, keep her from leaving. Like, you don't have to shoot her to kill. Shoot her to wound. Shoot her to cripple for the moment. Do something that keeps her from just leaving with all of the stuff that she has in that bag. Because that is going to be more dangerous and much more potentially life-threatening to everybody in the city than if you, say, shoot her in the leg and make it to where she can't walk. Like, yeah, that's going to hurt. It's going to suck to do that to Kate, but she's not really Kate right now, and what she's about to do could potentially lead to the deaths of several hundreds of thousands of people. But it's Kate, guys. I don't want to shoot Kate with a crossbow. I don't want to do that. I can't even shoot her to wound. I just can't do it. Oh my gosh, the amount of times that the good guys could have stopped the bad guys if they would just turn on their brains in all of these shows is ridiculous. But again, the writing is not good enough for it. The writing in these shows is like, okay, well, we need the bad guys to win, so let's have the good guys be idiots right now. Let's have the good guys not have a chance, not take the chance to stop the bad guy right now. Let's have them do that. Because, I would feel bad shooting her in the leg. Like, let's have them do that so that way the bad guys can win this battle. So that way it sets up for a more ultimate epic battle for the final episode of the season. Great. So that's really frustrating. Alice, again, they're trying to make her sympathetic. We see her and Mary at the beginning and that whole thing, and Mary, I don't know what it is. Something about her acting has just really, really taken a hit this season. And I know I talked about it earlier on, but yeah, that scene with Alice, just everything she said, I didn't believe a word of it. I know that feeling that you're feeling right now. That emptiness, the feeling like you're a million miles away from the situation. I know that feeling because of you. Like, I don't know. It sounds like she's just reading off of a card that's in front of her. And again, I don't necessarily like her overly perky personality, but at least that one, I feel like she's acting. Like, I feel like she's trying to be a character. Whenever she's doing the emotional scenes this season, it feels like there's just no emotion at all behind it. It feels like they just put her voice inside of a robot and are like, all right, go, start talking. Like, it's the best way I can describe it. And I don't understand why, because again, last season, her overly perky stuff was annoying because it was just the type of character that I'm not really interested in. But whenever she was a bit more serious, being the doctor or trying to help out Kate, I felt like those scenes were a lot better because she was more interesting. She was more invested in what she was saying. She wasn't being all like, "Ooh, yeah, I'm super perky, and oh my gosh, I can't wait to see what's gonna happen next, and I'm so glad I get to be here." Like, that's kind of the difference. Whereas this season, I still don't like that perky personality, but at least I feel like she's trying. At least I feel like there's more emotion behind it. So it's a very odd situation going on with her at the moment. But that being said, not the worst acting in the episode because we have Ryan's parole officer. Talk about going from somebody who just has no emotion in what they're saying to somebody who I don't know how to describe it. It's like her voice, the voice acting was not bad. It was the facial acting that, I don't know, it felt like she was trying to do too much in the face. Like, so much of the time she was really just, so much facial acting, and I'm so sad. Can't you see that I'm sad right now? When she sat down to talk to Ryan, I just don't understand how you can expect me to believe any of this. Why are you moving your head so much? Like, what? It felt like somebody who was acting on a stage. Because they say stage acting, it needs to be big. And I do remember I did some stage plays in like high school and right out of high school. It does have to be big because you're playing not just for the people in the front row, you're playing for the people in the back. So you have to make every emotion super big, and if you are doing a more emotional scene, I can understand why. Maybe you would just put on a huge expression. That's what this woman was doing, but you don't have to do that on the camera because you're super close up. So you see every reaction. You're not sitting in row Z trying to watch somebody act. You're right there. You're right here. So why, every time they cut to a close-up of her under the table, why is she doing... Like, calm down with your facial acting. Oh, God. So yeah, that was all pretty rough. But I realized I jumped from talking about Alice to talking about Mary to talking about her. Alice's story, though, ends this episode, the whole Sophia thing. I mean, it's very predictable. Like, as soon as Sophia's like coming closer to give her a hug, she's like, "Yes, I'll be there for you." She's like, "You will?" And then as soon as she hugs her, you just see the look on her face change, and she's like, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm so shocked. I totally did not predict that she was about to turn on Sophia and stab her whenever she hugged her. Like, I swear I was sitting here thinking that she was just going to be like, "Oh yeah, sure, Sophia, I'll go with you, even though you killed everyone I love. I'll do it." Is this supposed to be a surprise? The music plays it like a surprise, but is it supposed to be? Because if you've been watching the show at all, you should know that this is something Alice has done multiple times. Oh, really? Okay. Now you can't see my face. Like, it's just... It's one thing to do a cliche that's been done multiple times. It's another to do a cliche that you've done in your own show multiple times. And then finally, everything to do with Cersei is still just bordering on cringy bad to laughably bad. Like, just everything to do with her trying to look intimidating it's so close to being funny, but it's also so close to being just unbearable. Anytime I look at her and she's got a look of like, I'm evil, I just like, are you really evil, or are you just pretending to be evil? You're cute. You think you're evil, but God, you don't look it at all. Oh, you're trying so hard and it's just not working. But anyways, I know I'm low on time for this third episode, so I better go ahead and hop into it. I'll see you there. And finally, episode 18, Power. So this is a first for these, but it actually, there was so much happening in this episode that I realized about halfway through that I was going to need a lot more than the 7 minutes I had left on my tablet's like memory for recording. So I stopped that recording and I'm recording a new one, and then I'll just edit them together afterward. So not too much editing, but I needed more than 7 minutes because, oh my God, this was the first time that I feel like the show got bad funny. Like, there was so much that had me dying laughing with how stupid it was. And this is the first time I've ever felt this about the show. Like, I felt it about Supergirl sometimes, Arrow definitely a few times. There have been several moments in the Arrowverse where it just hit that point of like, man, it's trying to take itself so seriously, but it's so dumb that I'm laughing my ass off. For this show, most of the time, it's just been bad. Like, it's not been funny. It's not been so stupid that I'm laughing. It's been pretty just, I'm not having fun with it. This episode, for whatever reason, something clicked. Something in my brain clicked. Maybe I'm just losing my mind. Maybe I'm excited that this is the last episode that I'm watching. But something clicked in my mind, and I just could not help but laugh and laugh and laugh about so many things. I mean, first of all, you've got Luke getting his own bat suit. What the hell is he going to do in a bat suit? I mean, the guy is a tech genius. He's not seen the field hardly at all. And suddenly he's going to go out there in a bat suit and whoop some bad guy ass? Take down a guy who's essentially the next coming of Bane? Really? I mean, I thought it was funny whenever Jimmy put on a suit in Supergirl. This is just next level. I don't know what it is about these shows and wanting to take people who do not need to be fighting in the field and put them out in the field fighting. But my God, these shows love to do it, and it's funny every time. This might be one of my favorites because of how ridiculous it is that he not only went out there without any training, any sort of like preparation, but he goes out there and he takes down this super hulking, big, massive dude with one punch. It's just, oh my God. The fact that whatever his name is, it starts with a T and I still don't remember because he was such a one-note character. But the fact that he roids out because they take the whole snake bite away from him and he can't track down Mary? Really? I mean, it's not like she's super far away from him or she's hiding really well. He just can't keep up with her. Like, first, she's hiding behind a dumpster. He pushes the dumpster sort of out of the way. She pushes the dumpster into him, and somehow that stuns him long enough for her to get away. Mary pushes a dumpster into him, and he goes, oh, and falls. And then she goes climbing upstairs, and he can barely keep up with her. He grabs her by the foot, and she pulls out a taser, and somehow that works against him. Which, first of all, how would a taser work against him to begin with? Like, I feel like he's super strong to the point where a taser should be like, ow, why'd you do that? Also, he's grabbing her leg. I don't know if the show writers know how electricity works, but if you tase somebody that is holding on to you, at least I think that's how that works. Actually, I'm going to have to look that up and see. But, I mean, if it's a strong enough taser to take down a guy like that, more than likely the electricity is going to travel through his body and into yours as well, since he's grabbing onto you. So, but yeah, it's just, she keeps running up the stairs, keeps running. He's still not catching up to her. Finally catches up to her. And then Luke is doing some like slow motion posturing for the camera underneath to the point where she's like trying to pull away, because clearly you're going to be able to pull away from this guy whose muscles look like, they look like they're about to just burst out of his skin. Like, and she's still trying to pull away like, oh yeah, I'm definitely going to be able to pull away from this guy somehow. I don't know how, but I'm going to do it. And then she eventually does like manage to yank herself to the point where she falls off of the stairs. And then Luke's suit apparently has a jetpack that he uses to go flying up and catch her at a high speed. And she's perfectly fine. Because that's how it works. That's how physics works, right? Like if you're falling down at increasing velocity and something immediately stops your velocity, you're perfectly fine. Especially because he's flying up at her. You're going to tell me that this force going down meets this force going up at a high speed and she's not dead. What? Oh man, and it's funny because like they had to show that this is his first time in the suit, so he's not really used to it. So after he catches her, he doesn't land very gracefully, like he falls and like hits the ground with her on top of him. So it's like you want to show that he's not good with the suit, and yet somehow he manages to catch her at a high speed using a jetpack and not hurt her at all. Like there's just, you can't have your cake and eat it too. You guys are idiots. Oh man, Ryan and Alice, I don't know, their scenes are just so stupid. Like there's so much, it even ends on a dumb note. Like they have all these moments where, Ryan is just blaming her for the death of her mother and blah, blah, blah. We know she holds a grudge. We know that she's willing to let Alice die because of the grudge, which of course is a great feeling to have for a superhero, right? But yeah, you have all these moments between them, that are just, they're not well handled. But it gets funny whenever they both show up at Sionis's hideout, and there is Cersei in a suit, like in her version of the bat suit, and they're trying to fight her off as if they're going to be able to do any damage to her. And the fact that they are able to hold their own for a minute, kind of odd. Like, the bat suit nullifies all physical damage. Why are you swinging and punching at her? Like that. You really think you're going to do anything to her? I don't know. It's just very funny. And then here comes Roman with his guns. And Alice's response, hey, all right, you run away. I'm going to distract him. She runs away. What does Alice do? Nothing. And yet Roman does not shoot her. I was expecting Alice to like throw something at him or anything, but instead Ryan just runs away and he's like, bang, 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 bang. Oh man, I really should like aim with these a little bit, I guess. I don't know. Like, I thought maybe if I just shot, maybe one of the bullets will like fly in her direction. I do have my cheats on, that makes the bullets fly at people. At least that was in my game. Maybe I didn't do it in real life. But yeah, and then apparently somehow she stole Joker's flower in the midst of all the fighting they were doing and uses it against him. Okay, sure. Oh, but then it gets to the end, and one of the biggest belly laughs that I had this entire episode happens when Alice, she uses the snake bite on Kate and on herself, which sends them both into, a hypnotic trance that they are. Alice is with Ocean, Kate is saving Beth. And my God, the scene with Alice and Ocean, again, I've not felt this feeling of, God, this is fun, stupid in this show until this moment. She's like, what are you doing? Tatiana's coming. She's going to come here to kill you any second. I know, I'm sorry. I was a little distracted looking up at campers. What? Oh, I was trying to get us out of here so we could start a new life. Okay. And I'm I'm sorry. If you've been training your whole life to be a part of this world, to be a master assassin, to do all of these, to just be so aware of your surroundings. Like, he's been training his whole life. And you're really telling me that, oh, yes, my phone, I'm so distracted that I can't see anything at all. Can't hear anything at all. My focus is 100% here. I know I've lived my life on the run and I'm always on alert, but right now in this one moment, I'm only focused right here. Mm-hmm. Yep. Oh my God. It's like, whenever you ignore logic and reason so wholly, so completely, to the point where it's just, you can't even fathom, like, who came up with this idea in the writer's room. I know somebody pitched the idea, okay, well, Ocean's gotta die. And so they're trying to, like, come up with how, and they're like, we'll say Tatiana killed him. And there's just that one guy in the back of the room who, he actually does have a brain, but he just doesn't care. He's just there for the paycheck. And he just raised his hand. He's just like, hey guys, Ocean's pretty good at what he does. How is Tatiana gonna kill him? Maybe he was distracted thinking about his life with Alice. Yeah, okay, I don't care. Oh my God. Whew. But yeah, so anyways, we've got a couple of other things that were really stupid. A little less funny, but still somewhat funny. You've got Ryan shows up to get the snakebite venom from Mary out of nowhere. They don't show them contacting her at all. We just, I guess, have to assume that they contacted her at some point. So she shows up. She's trying to take down Cersei with the Batmobile. And that whole scene as well is just, it's veering into that stupid funny where you've got Cersei is like driving and she hears the Batmobile behind her. Instead of just like giving it a little look behind to see what's going on, she gives it a full, like, the full head turn killed me. It's so dumb. Nobody looks like that, but they did it because they want us to be sure that Cersei is a little crazy. Like, that's the type of crazy she is, that she can't just turn and look like a normal person. She's got to really look and really look back. And then she does some little stuff in the road to block off the Batmobile. Ryan drives around it. She shoots something at her. Don't remember what it was now. But she was shooting something at her to try to knock her off the bike. And she's like swerving and dodging all of it. Ryan's response, man, she knows how to drive a bike. No shit. I mean, first of all, the fact that, like, you say that as if it's supposed to mean something else. Like, we know what you're trying to say, but the writing is so bad that it makes it sound like she's, oh, wow, she knows how to drive a bike. Well, yeah, she's driving the bike, so of course she knows how to drive a bike. But I know the intention behind the line is to say that she knows how to drive a bike well. She is a very masterful driver of a bike. I know that's what they intended to say, but that's not what Ryan said. But what's funny about that, even in that context, she's still Kate Kane in physical form. And she still has Kate's memories to an extent. She's Cersei, but she's still Kate as well. Of course she knows how to drive a bike. She used to be a Batwoman. Her transportation of choice was the Bat bike that she is currently driving. So no shit. God. And then Cersei flips a switch, 2 missiles come up and try to blow up the Batmobile, which Ryan avoids. Man, this bitch is crazy. What was your first clue? Oh my God. I mean, you saw, oh my God. I don't know. some of these lines, they struck that chord of like, somebody thought that was funny? Or no, not even funny. Somebody thought that was a good line? Somebody thought that was a good line to have in the show? Like, somebody wrote that. Again, I'm not saying that this writer's strike and all of the strike that's going on in Hollywood and basically in the acting community, I'm not saying that it's wrong. I do agree there's a lot of issues there. I'm not going to get into all of it. However, there are times watching shows like this where I see how bad the writing is, and I'm thinking, you guys want to get paid more for this? Like, oh, everybody should get paid fairly. I'm not saying that they're wrong in striking, but at the same time, how many of them deserve the jobs that they have in the writing room with stuff like this? Oh, it's something else. Oh, man. So outside of all of that, though, we've got just a few things looking into next season that, I don't know, maybe... I'm not going to do a review on it for sure. I'm not going to talk about the show anymore because I'm done trying to dig into it. Maybe I'll watch on my own time. Like, maybe I'll have a couple drinks just to sort of put my mind in a little bit of a less than sober state. So that way I'm not fully focused on it. Or maybe I'll just look up synopsis of every episode just so I can see what they decided to do. Because don't get me wrong, this season ended on a fun note, but I'm definitely not like sitting here going, oh, I can't wait for next season. Like, that feeling is still not there. It's just this episode was enough fun to where I'm ending this season on not a, God, I'm so done and I never want to even talk about the show. Like, I'm still on the mindset of I don't want to. I don't want to come back to the show. I don't plan to come back to the show. But if more of the episodes were like this, I might actually check it out. Like, that's why I've stuck with Supergirls, because there are enough episodes thrown in similar to this where I'm like, the show is bad, but God, it can get funny bad at some points. But, yeah, we have a few different things setting up for next season. I don't think Kate will be very involved in season 3 because it sounds like she's going off and doing her own thing. But I do wonder, if that story is involved at all in the next season, like if her search for Bruce Wayne is involved. I figured at some point we would get something about why he left, why he disappeared. Like, I figured that would be kind of a big talking point, but it just got ignored for a lot of last season and a lot of this season as well. Most of this season, really. So I don't really know if that was going to be kind of the end game for the show, and then they got cut short, so they couldn't really focus on it. Obviously, there are several Batman villains that their toys and such all got out. Clayface, it looked like he might have gotten out, possibly because his jar was out there. Obviously, we saw Poison Ivy's vines growing, so I'm assuming she would be involved in the 3rd season. Mad Hatter's hat was out there, the Penguin's umbrella. So I don't know how all of their, like, I figured the vines maybe somehow would bring Poison Ivy back. I don't know. I don't really care enough to think too hard about it, but yeah, I mean, that it could be interesting. It could have a slight bit of intrigue knowing that some Batman villains would be coming back. But the problem is that that's not enough for me to really be interested in next season because the main character is still awful. Ryan is still a terrible person at the end of it all. She's so in it for herself. I didn't really talk about this in the last episode, but just her response to Kate coming back showed just how selfish she is. She's all, oh, now that she's back, I'm not needed anymore. I'm not wanted anymore. So I'm going to go pout by myself. Like that, it's not the sign of a hero. It's a sign of somebody who's in it for themselves. And that's not somebody I really want to follow, in a serious show. If it's something like, I'm thinking Darkwing Duck. Like, obviously he's in it for himself, but it's a kid's show, and it's for comedy's sake, and he generally gets his comeuppance at some point in the show because he's selfish, and even though he has a good heart, he's still doing it for the glory, for the fame, and ultimately it bites him in the butt a lot of the times, and that's funny and it's done for comedy's sake. This is a show where Ryan, she's only in it for herself. And it's supposed to be like, no, guys, we're supposed to feel bad for her. We're supposed to want her to win the day. Who cares that she's in it for herself? She deserves it. It's justice. No, it's not. And it makes her seem shallow as a hero. It makes her seem like she doesn't fully understand the responsibility of being a hero. It's not an interesting character to follow. Oh, I forgot about Vesper. It just popped into my head because I thought about, the whole like masks that the people set up in their windows with like the bat symbol glowing from it and all of that. Which, first of all, Black Mask Plan, I get it, but at the same time, it relies on most of Gotham's citizens being awful people, and apparently they are. It's similar to like the Purge, like the whole idea that there's just this darkness in people where they're just like, oh hey, I can put on this mask and then I can go beat people up and burn things. I want to go do it because I'm an evil person deep down. Like that is a weird concept in general, but Vesper Fairchild, obviously she's been one of my least favorite characters because not only is she Rachel Maddow, but also the puns that they give her, the amount of times that she makes light of awful situations that happen, the amount of times that she sounds like that annoying radio broadcaster that you just, as soon as they come on, you're like, can we get back to the music, please? I'm going to switch until we're listening to the music again. So two things. First of all, the family that's sitting in their place, son is behind him. Hey, Dad, we're listening to Vesper. What? First of all, you're listening to Vesper. Why does that mean you can't turn around and look at your son? No, we have to stare at the radio while we listen to it or else we can't hear it. Son, don't you understand how sound works? It's not working unless you can see what's playing the sound. So silence, I can't look at you, I'm listening to Vesper. But also just the fact that anybody would listen to Vesper with that level of engagement. She's the type of broadcaster, she would have her fans, they would all be like nerds on the internet. People that they don't ever leave their house, they're in their own little confined bubble, and they're just like, oh yeah, she's saying exactly what I think too. I'm going to go online and post about it on my vlog. Or probably not vlogging, they're probably blogging. But the fact that like a husband and wife with their two kids would sit there and seriously listen to this woman who's like, oh yes, we're all here for you, Batwoman. You totally saved the day. And you know what? You gave us the power to save the day too. Come back, B-Woman. First of all, B-Woman? Why would you say B-Woman when her name is Batwoman? It's not like you're shortening her name at all. It's still Batwoman. 3 syllables. It's still 3 syllables. You're just saying Batwoman. B-Woman. It's not changing anything. You sound like an idiot. But also, the fact that she literally said, we rejected Black Mask's offer, or whatever she called it, when clearly we saw thousands of people going and grabbing those masks and burning the city to the ground. That doesn't look like a rejection to me. I'm not saying that people did not reject it. Clearly we saw there were several masks in the window with the bat symbol glowing. So not everybody gave in to his suggestion. There was still a lot of people that did. But it's honestly what it makes me think of. It's essentially that the news' way of doing things. They focus on one aspect of it and ignore this thing over here to be like, hey guys, look at this. You see all these masks in the windows that have the bat symbol glowing from them? That's right. We said no to Black Mask. Don't look at these people over here that are wearing the masks and are burning buildings and are trashing stuff and are trying to kill people. Don't look at those people. They don't count. These are the people we want to focus on. Oh. man. So yeah, that's about it for this final episode of season 2. It ended on a fun note, but no, the season overall was still absolute trash, and even worse than the first season, which I did not think it could get much worse, because the first season was so bad. The acting was bad, the story was bad, the characters were bad, all of it was pretty bad, and this season they decided to take a lot of the problems from the first season, amplify them, and then also throw in some race baiting in there as well. So it's like, who is your show for? Again, you're not trying to offer solutions to the problems you're pointing out. You're just trying to say, hey, it's bad. It sucks out there. Even Black Mask's whole thing, it's not like they were fighting against this corruption that they saw. They were just fighting Black Mask, who was also fighting the corruption that he saw. So it's like the problems that they brought up weren't even really addressed. They were just focused on from a different angle, and then they stopped the person who was trying to do the same thing they were doing. And it's just, none of it makes any sense. It's not well written. It's bad. It's really, really bad. And again, I don't plan on coming back for season 3. So at some point, whether I watch it or whether I just look up the story, I'll find out what happens in season 3. But I'm not looking forward to even talking about the show again, because it really is the bottom of the barrel. And that's, for the Arrowverse, that's saying something, because most of the shows, barring the Flash for the first 4 or 5 seasons, and then Legends of Tomorrow, the Arrowverse has not really been that great. It's been okay at times, and then it's been frustrating at times. So for Batwoman to be the bottom of that barrel, it's just, nope. So I'm glad to be done with this show. I'm glad to move on to hopefully better things. I think I have Superman and Lois next after this one. So yeah, at least I'll have that to look forward to. Also, I've been enjoying recording gameplay stuff, so it's given me something to take my mind off of all of this frustration. But I'm just one voice. Let me know what you guys think. What were your thoughts on this season as a whole, on these final 3 episodes? Let me know. We can talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for, I guess, future CW stuff, since I'm not going back to Batwoman. But until next time, see you guys. Peace out.